Well, the pits have filled up in a hurry today, and we have absolutely beautiful weather for our Labor Day show here at the Grays Harbor Raceway located in Elma, Washington. Welcome back to today's video. Tonight is night number 4 of our World of Outlaw Swing through the state of Washington. It has really been a pleasure racing with the greatest show on dirt. Just through these last couple of days, I've learned so much about my race car. I've gotten better behind the wheel, more comfortable in the 410, and just gotten some really valuable laps. So real quickly, before we get into all the fun action like qualifying, heat races, and main events, I want to head up here to the track, specifically down in turns 1 and 2, and point out a few things for you, the viewer. Well, I'm down here in turns 1 and 2, and I really want to point out specifically with this racetrack, the banking and how it really starts to flatten off about 3/4 of the way up the track. So if you kind of walk up here, this place has a pretty nice berm, super forgiving. You can almost get your left front kind of right up on it. And it has really good banking here towards the bottom, and then you get about halfway up and it looks all right, but at some point it really starts to flatten off. So even though this place is so wide, it actually races kind of narrow. And I think for the 410s it'll be a little bit better, but if you guys watched the vlogs about 2 weeks ago when Carly was here, it was really just a choo-choo train right around the bottom. It even got really abrasive and took rubber. So tonight we were hoping for a little bit of a better surface, and like I said, with the 410s having 900 horsepower, sometimes they can get on the flatter part of the racetrack and really rip up there. So I'm not really sure what we're expecting for car count tonight, maybe around 2410s, but here in just a couple of hours, this place will be packed with over 5,000 people. We have the pill draw coming up. We're gonna be getting right into the pit meeting, engine heat, hot laps, and single car qualifying. Just hoping to finish off our weekend on a high note and really try to keep making improvements in the 410. Let's get it all started. Well, the 18T actually felt pretty good here for our qualifying run at the Grays Harbor Raceway. I felt like lap 1 was all right. We also got a warm-up lap, which was really nice because I got a chance to kind of test the waters and just see how the track had changed from hot laps to qualifying. So lap 1 was all right. Second lap, I felt like I nailed 1 and 2. The car felt awesome. I rotated. This place, you actually get going at some pretty high speeds, but it didn't feel terribly fast. Then 3 and 4, I tried to enter high and then turn down through the bottom on exit. And I think I just missed it a little bit. I mean, I definitely didn't stick it. I was really hoping to pick up some traction and drive off straight, and I kind of like slid through it. So I'm not sure if that ended up being a faster route, but this place flattens off, like I said, and off of 4 it gets really, really bad. So we're just gonna see. I do think it was beneficial though that we were the 4th car out, so hopefully that also helps us. But as I've been saying, the Outlaw guys are so fast, but definitely some of my best qualifying laps so far of the weekend. Well, I got some pretty good news for you, strapping in for the heat race, but we ended up 10th quick tonight here in Elma, Washington. This place is a little bit easier to qualify at, in my opinion, than Skagit because it's not as tight of a corner. You can really get on the gas and kind of just let it go and really try to keep the car straight. So 10th quick, we have a little bit of a smaller field, I think 21 410s, and then also it helped that I went out early, so glad to have a couple things play in my favor. Anyway, heat race is gonna be up next. Track is a little bit slicker than qualifying, and I think we're gonna have 2 solid lanes, so it's gonna be about trying to find, you know, what's fast around Grays Harbor and really try to get after it. Gotta have 8 good laps to maintain my position or possibly go forward. Well, the track here at Grays Harbor is actually looking pretty good, and I mentioned I felt like this place would race a little bit better with 410s because the 410s have the power to run up on the flatter part of the track compared to the 360s and limiteds where they're mainly just around the bottom, it seems like, unless it's absolutely perfect. But they threw a little bit of water on there during the intermission. It seemed to help a little, but for the most part, it really just burned back off. In our heat races, a lot of guys were really working the top side down here in 3 and 4, and, you know, occasionally trying the bottom, but it seems like until the top gets a little bit farther around, the bottom won't come in really until then. Here is one last look though at the Grays Harbor Raceway. They just have the fast pass dash up, I believe some non-wing heats, and then they're going to be getting right into our 30-lap feature. So I'm expecting the track to change quite a bit, especially through the A main event with these 410s, man. They just get going so much, and I'm expecting it to widen out and, you know, probably get pretty black right through the center. So really excited to see this surface, and I feel like it's going to be my style, just out there slick, slow, and you got to find a lot of different lines to be quick. So we have our best starting position of the weekend, so we're hoping to take advantage of it. Racetrack, as I talked about in the last couple of clips, it's just getting really slick. There's not a lot of grip out there. Guys are kind of working like the bottom, but you don't have to slow down a lot, but at the same time you do. You have to have throttle control, but you got to carry some speed in to get the car rotated. And then the top is only gonna get wider as it kind of gets more up on that shelf, that flatter spot. So we just made some adjustments. I talked about trying to get rid of some wheel spin, and I just got to do my job here with the 2 pedals I got in the cockpit to really try to keep the rear tires under me. So rolling off from 10th, I feel great, man. Just want to end the weekend on a good note here and really try to get some good laps and race with the guys here in the World of Outlaws and the greatest show on dirt. So we got fast cars behind us, plenty of fast cars ahead of us. So let's see if we can get out there and, you know, be in search of a top 10. night number 4 of our weekend with the World of Outlaws has officially come to a close. And just like Skagit, Grays Harbor had a phenomenal fan base. So many people for like the last hour were coming in and out, checking out the trailer, the car, signing autographs. They were getting merchandise, and man, I love my Pacific Northwest fan base. As far as where we ended up, I'm not 100% sure where we finished. Kind of similar, you know, we were definitely one of the last cars. I was going really good at the beginning, and that's a race I wish I could have back. I felt so good out there, and then we had a yellow, I think, on lap 13. Double foul restarts, something I don't get to do too often, and I fired off all right, and then I think we had another restart. Maybe it was double foul, and then I think, or at some point we had a single foul restart, and I was in like 9th or 10th. I was rolling all right. I was just kind of right around where I started. I was making some good laps, really working the high side, also trying the bottom, just trying to stay on top of the track because it wasn't narrow to start out, but it had some grip, and then it got really, really slick and just started moving up, and I was making some good laps, and then on a restart, and this is partly my fault. I think the tire, the right rear specifically, just bled down a lot, and I should have been buzzing my tires a little bit. You know, it's easy to kind of get a little complacent, and I was rolling around, and we had a quick yellow, and I should have buzzed my tires a little bit to keep air pressure in them, and I think it just got too low. I got in on the top, and the tire just wasn't stood up. It started trying to fold under itself. I started hopping, and I lost probably 2 or 3 spots, and once I was out of that rhythm, it almost, in a way, kind of, you know, ruined a little bit of the rest of my race because I lost some spots. I didn't have forward momentum. I then was almost on defense, if that makes sense, instead of being on offense. And then guys started getting by me, and I just wasn't able to get my rhythm back. And it took me a couple laps to get going. And by then, I was, you know, one of the last cars on the lead lap. And eventually, the leaders came around and lapped us. Still so many positives from our night. It just sucks that it looked like we were maybe going to have a chance at a top 10. I mean, at one point we were ahead of Jacob Allen, Sheldon Hodenshield, right there with them. I even had a little aha moment under yellow. I'm behind Casey Kane, and I'm like, man, how cool is it that with the World of Outlaws, you can show up and you can run against guys that are full-time competitors. They do this for a living. They're so talented, and I get the chance to race right alongside them. So that was an awesome moment, definitely humbling, and this whole weekend has been that way, man. Just, you know, a lot of people come up to me and say, hey, Tanner, man, you're so good at sprint cars. You're so awesome, and I appreciate those compliments, but like, these guys go so much higher, and I'm just blessed to get the chance to get experience with them and have the shot to be on the same track. They're getting ready to shut the lights off though up here by the track. The surface we had was the best one I've ever seen. You could work the bottom, you could work the top. I mean, look at how close it is to the fence. All this room to race, and it was very tricky, and I think just kind of as the race went on, even once I did start to get going behind all those guys, I just wasn't as good as the start. So I just need to work on that as the racetrack got super slick, and it makes it difficult because you're up here on the shelf, and the car doesn't handle as good, I guess you could say, or it's just a little bit more difficult because it's a flatter part of the track compared to when you're down on a little bit of banking. But I felt like all the changes we did throughout the night and everything that was a very similar baseline to kind of what we figured out at Skagit really did work. And I want to give a huge shout out to my dad, Carly, and Chris for filling in as crew chief for the weekend. Chris did a phenomenal job just helping us try to get the race car more comfortable, and I feel like we found a really solid spot and got the race car rolling really good for night number 3 and 4 with the Outlaws. But Elma, it was fun. It was an awesome way to end Labor Day weekend. And before we officially head back home to Southern Oregon, which is like a 6.5-hour trek that we are going to start right now, just want to thank all my sponsors: Next Gen Def, Carson Oil, Fast 4 Media, On-Site Screeners, OMA KTM, Earth Environmental, Pit Stop USA, Lafarge, ABC Powder Coating, and everyone that supports the AT&T, as well as the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, everyone that showed up from the Pacific Northwest, as well as the Grays Harbor Raceway and the Skagit Speedway for allowing the Outlaws to come back to Washington. It was phenomenal. It was my first 4 races with the greatest show on dirt, and even though, I mean, our results, you know, obviously we would obviously love to run better, but I mean, what do? You're running against guys that do this for a living. They're out here on the road, so much experience, and as I said, if anything, it was just an honor to get to run side by side with some of them, and I look forward to trying to get some more Outlaw races under my belt, maybe to end this year, but definitely in 2022 as we just try to run against tougher and tougher competition, because this is what's gonna make us better. So, like I said, Elma, it was fun. Hopefully I can visit you again in 2022. See you guys all in the next video. Thank you to you, the viewer, for riding along with me for my journey, and hopefully 30 laps around this place was a lot of fun on board. See you guys all in the next one. Deuces.